As second-round play begins in the NCAA tournament, America continues to marvel at UMBC becoming the first 16 seed to knock off the 1. But as Saturday continues to roll on, the question of how UMBC was able to do what it did against Virginia will start to give way to another question: how far can the Retrievers take this thing? If a team is capable of not just beating the No.1 overall team in the tournament, but destroying them by 20, then it stands to reason that the same team has at least a puncher's chance to keep advancing in the big dance. There are 3 reasons to believe that UMBC can win on Sunday and remain America's sweetheart for another week. The Florida Gulf Coast effect. There's obviously no historical precedent to go off here, because before Friday night a 16 seed had never beaten a 1. The closest thing to what we saw from UMBC against Virginia might be the 2012-13 Florida Gulf Coast Eagles. Like UMBC, the way that FGCU pulled off its first-round win was almost more impressive than the victory itself. The 15th-seeded Eagles threw down all over Georgetown in a 78-68 win where they looked like the better team from start to finish. Dunk City was born in the Georgetown game, but the ride didn't stop there. During that first game against the Hoyas, Florida Gulf Coast looked, just as UMBC did on Friday, like a team fully capable of pulling off more than just one upset in the tourney. Appearances were not deceiving in this case, as the Eagles hammered 7th-seeded San Diego State 2 days later, 81-71. FGCU was eventually knocked out of the tournament by Florida, 62-50, and remains the only team seeded 15th or worse to play in the Sweet 16. Perhaps they'll have company next weekend. Kansas State is banged up. In order for that to happen, UMBC will have to upset a 9th-seeded Kansas State team that put together an impressive 69-59 first-round win over Creighton. Despite that, there's at least some reason for optimism for fans hoping the Retrievers' run doesn't end with a single victory. Kansas State's 2 leading scorers, Dean Wade, 16.5 ppg, and Barry Brown, 16.0 ppg, have both been banged up in recent weeks. Now Brown, who missed time during K-State's Big 12 tournament loss to Kansas because of an eye injury, played very well Friday night against Creighton. Wade, however, remains hobbled by a foot injury and did not see the court against the Blue Jays. With Wade unable to go, Kansas State got an enormous lift from unheralded freshman Mike McGurl. Entering the game having scored just 13 points all season, McGurl dropped 17 points in 22 minutes. It was a great March Madness story. It's also the type of March Madness story that tends to be a one-shot deal. After the win over Creighton, Kansas State coach Bruce Weber didn't seem overly optimistic about the chances of Wade playing big minutes on Sunday. If it improves and he wants to go and give it a shot and we need him, I don't think it's going to be major minutes, Weber said. But he wants to be part of it. If it helps us have success and move on, I'm sure Dean will be there giving his all. If Wade is again sidelined and McGurl isn't guided by the gods of March, then UMBC will be facing a K-State team that is far from full strength. K-State likely won't get to the free throw line as much in round 2. Kansas State thoroughly outplayed Creighton on Friday night, but the Wildcats were also aided by shooting 25 free throws to the Blue Jays' 5. Part of that disparity is because Creighton was trying to lengthen the game in the final minutes. But even before that, K-State was doing a healthy amount of its damage from the charity stripe. UMBC sent Virginia to the line only 8 times on Friday, which played a big part in the Retrievers' upset. On the season, opponents are shooting just 68.0% from the stripe against UMBC, giving Ryan Odom's team the 17th best free throw defense in the country. Creighton was also done in by some abysmal outside shooting, going 9 for 34 from beyond the arc. UMBC, meanwhile, was 12 of 24 against the best defensive team in college basketball. For this reason, it's hard to imagine Kansas State did a whole lot of scouting on UMBC in the days after the bracket was revealed. Just saying.